Hi, it's Brian Bennett. I'm a pastor, a leadership coach, and also a strategist. And I want to guide us to think about, in this video, making the hard decision today, making the hard decision this week that we need to make, or making the hard decision that's going to come in this season. For all of us, we've faced moments where we've had to make a hard decision. And I think the harder the decision, the higher the cost or the higher the stakes, the more difficult it is sometimes to make that decision. But what's really hard is when we have multiple hard decisions to make at once, or when we're tired. We're tired from overworking, we're tired from pushing ourselves too hard, or tired because we've been under a lot of stress for a while, and then we have to make a hard decision. And the more we have to make multiple hard decisions, or our tank is only half full when we have to make it, I think the harder it gets to make that decision. And what happens if we're not careful is we start avoiding the hard decision. And here's the downfall of avoiding the hard decision: it doesn't go away. And normally when we avoid it, it actually gets worse. A hard decision normally deals with a high stakes situation, and many times that situation gets worse while we delay, while we avoid. Here's the other thing that's really difficult about not making the hard decision: it has an effect on us. We carry that weight with us. And the longer we delay, the longer we go on and try to push through and just kind of ignore that, the more it takes a toll. It sucks our energy, zaps the joy out of our life, and it starts weighing down on us like a heavy weight that's just sitting on our shoulders and pulling us down. And so the longer we go without making or facing or having the conversation, whatever it is, the more that weight just pushes down on our life. And here's what normally happens: when we avoid the hard decision and don't face it right away, ultimately we actually live conflicted. Inside, we feel it, but we aren't fully aware. It's like we're aware it's there and it's having this weight, it's taking our energy out, but we don't dive in and face it deeply. Or if we do dive in and face it deeply, we come up with the worst case scenario. We don't focus on how we want this situation to best work out and how to navigate that. We tend to let our mind run with worry about the worst case scenario. And obviously, I think we should be realistic and pay attention to, hey, this is what could happen. If that happens, here's how I'm going to respond. Worst case scenario. But also, hey, this is the outcome I want, and I'm going to work towards that end in this situation. So sometimes, because we're allowing worry to take hold and run wild, we delay, assuming the worst is going to happen. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments, but you've assumed the worst is going to happen, and then afterwards you look back, you're like, why did I make that such a big deal? The worst didn't happen. I think many of us have experienced that as well. So here's what I want to encourage myself with and you with. I had to make a hard decision this morning. It wasn't a hard relational decision, but it was a hard decision about an initiative that I was working on. And I had to make a decision whether to cancel a big part of it or to keep going. And this is a decision I've kind of faced before, and it's a challenging one, and it's a frustrating one, because it's a decision where it's not getting as much reception from others. There's not as much buy-in to it. So it's the question of, do we keep pushing again, or do we just cut it? And if we cut it, does that mean I'm admitting failure with it? And all those kind of questions that come to your mind when you're thinking about that. As we think about facing the hard decision, here's the key principle: we must make those decisions as soon as we can, as skillfully as we can. We need to make hard decisions as soon as we can and as skillfully as we can. So if we can have the hardest phone call first in the day, that means the rest of the day we're not living with that weight of the dreaded inevitable phone call that's going to happen. Now, that phone call may not go as well as we like, and we're going to have to deal with that, but we're going to have to deal with that anyway. So we might as well get on the other side with it and deal with the outcome or the result of the phone call. For some of us, we're weighing a decision about a business or a thing, and it's not that we don't have clarity. We're just lacking the courage to pull the trigger. And it might mean stopping something, starting something, or changing something. So what I'm not saying here is don't wait because if it's a wise choice to wait. I'm not saying here don't wait because it's a strategic choice to wait. If it's either wise to wait or strategic to wait, then we need to do that, but we need to know the difference between what's wise, what's strategic, and what's avoidance. Avoidance doesn't lead us onto the path that we want to live. But wise and strategic, those are good reasons to wait. So as we're looking at the hard decisions in our lives, are we avoiding them? Are we being wise Are we being strategic in what we're choosing? And here's the trick with all of that. When we look at the decisions, many times it's easy to rationalize. I'm going to wait and make up a reason that's really avoidance. So it's easy to camouflage avoidance as wise or strategic. And there's all kinds of reasons we can come up with to wait and dress them up to look really nice. But in that case, it's really avoidance. So here's the challenge is we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be aware and just get brutally honest. Am I avoiding this situation, or is it best to choose to wait? And here's how we know when we're unsure. When we're getting aware and we're looking inward and we're looking at what we're feeling, if we're saying, I want to choose to wait because I'm afraid to deal with it, it's challenging, I don't want to face it, that's avoidance. That probably means in that moment to go and deal with it. But if we're looking at the situation and say, you know what, yeah, I don't want to deal with it, but I'm willing to, but I think it's wisest in this time to wait. And here's the reason why. Then it's probably best to wait and do what's wise. Here's the other key is we can always invite someone else to say, hey, help me be honest with myself here. Here's kind of what I'm feeling. It's a sticky, tough situation. Do you think, based on these reasons, is it best to wait or is it best to face it now? And sometimes bringing an outside voice in helps us be brutally honest with ourselves and make the wisest, most strategic choice. So as we're looking at our situation today, is it best to wait or is it best to face them now? If we need help, pull in an advisor around you who can help speak into it. But let's make the hard decisions and the wise strategic decisions today.